What's going on, everybody? My name is SLUMPFISH. Welcome to another edition of Hanging Out with the Digitone 2 on a very lazy Sunday. I heard today is actually Easter, so that's kind of cool, kind of rad. If you're deciding to hang out with me to celebrate the holiday, thank you, because I'm here to hang out with you for the holiday. So today we're rocking the song mode. We're going to make a song beginning to end with song mode. Now, one of the biggest problems with Digitone 2, if I'm being completely honest, is that it's too much fun to just hang out and keep making something more and more awesome by adding layers and just continuously developing your loops, what they call like the loop trap. And I think groove boxes are uniquely, kind of suited to draw you into that trap. It's what makes them so fun. But it's not really a trap, It's just that once you're having so much fun doing one thing, having to switch gears to kind of think outside of that kind of feels like you're fighting against gravity. And I have to say, this problem's probably not going to go away for most people. There are some ways that we can get around it. Now, of course, if we had a DAW, we could see on the screen left to right, here's the beginning of the song, here's the middle. Even if the middle and the end are blank patches of space, we can still see and imagine, okay, well, an idea could go there. And we can carry over assets. Digitone 2 doesn't have that advantage, but it does have song mode. And that's worth something. And that's why today's going to be all about getting ahead of any sort of loop issues. So just to rock it right off the bat, happy Easter from the UK, happy Easter from here in Texas, my friend. We are going to open up song mode. And as soon as you hit function song, it's going to highlight any songs that are sitting on top of your Digitone 2. I was playing around with one earlier in the 1 slot, so we're going to jump to the 9 slot, and this is now a song. This is a brand new song. The way that we add or take away chunks of our song is we hold down function, hit the down arrow, and boom, you just enabled this song to exist. And it's going to say right here which pattern, which bank, which number, and we get to decide how many times it's going to loop before it goes to the next stage, which, this could be number 3, that could be number 1. And as you can see, I've got some kind of some patterns already in here, because right here is the tempo section, and that particular pattern was saved at 157. So something you got to keep in mind when you're plugging this in. Right here is where the actual number of steps exists, per each section. And I know that's not really exciting to talk about, but I just wanted to just get ahead of that. If you want to delete a little slot in your song, hold down function and hit the up button, and boom, you just took it out. And do it again. Now our song is empty. Now, kind of back to what we were talking about. Oh, also to get out of song mode, just go ahead and pick any pattern and it will turn off song mode just by default. So back to that kind of issue we were talking about, where it's just too much fun to hang out on that one loop. A good way that I have found to kind of get ahead of this issue is to just kind of give yourself some runway. What that next section would look like on a DAW, give yourself that in the form of some patterns. So one thing I really like to do, so I have here a bass line. This is a nice little bass patch we got going on. I will just pick, some type of, so I have the Dorian scale picked, but you can pick any scale, whatever you're feeling. I like Dorian, so let's stick to Dorian. And we're also going to do folded. We're going to fit more keys onto this keyboard. By the way, we are in keyboard setup mode. You just do function plus the key icon right here. Go ahead and enter into step record mode. Hold down record and then stop. And then as we hold down the keys, it's going to show us a keyboard. By keys, I mean the keyboard button right here on the left side. And we can punch in a bunch of notes. That's what I'm going to do, but I'm not just going to punch in random notes. I'm going to kind of just try to feel my way through it. And I actually went over 16 steps. Let's go ahead and do 32 steps for this. So let's go ahead and record, stop. Let's just do it again. Actually, that sucks. Let's go back. Okay, not the coolest thing ever, but save it. What we have there is a non-stop bass line, and actually has some other elements that I was laying in earlier. I'm gonna leave those there because those are gonna kind of help us figure this out. But by having a bunch of notes sitting on this bass part right here, now we can do a little Euclidean magic. Go to function, amp, turn on the Euclidean sequencer, and we just throw out some numbers on these pulse generators. And what this is gonna do, if you see my channel before, you already know I'm all about this, but it's gonna spread out those notes from our bass line. Okay, so that right there kind of feels like a little bit like Select Ambient Works or something. Maybe let's go for a slower tempo. That's fun, I like that. Okay. Okay, now we're going to save it. We're going to copy this whole pattern over to the next pattern spot. Function save. And now we're gonna go to this pattern. We're gonna go to that bass track. It didn't copy for some reason. Copy. Okay, so now we have this Euclidean sequence, bass line sitting here. Now I wanna make an alternative to that previous bass line. And I know this is kind of me getting a little too deep in the details, so let me just back it up for a second and try to explain what my approach is here. Because what I wanna do is create that runway for our song. So I'm gonna make a couple bass lines, just a couple variations, and I'm gonna find 2, 3, maybe 4 that fit together, that feel good moving from one to the other. So almost like a gesture, like first I'm talking about this, but now I'm talking about that. And it's still the same conversation. And it's kind of the kind of thing that you just kind of have to feel your way through. But so now that we are in a different pattern, we have the opportunity to turn off Euclidean mode, back to our regular, sheet of notes here. We're gonna hold down function and we're gonna hit the side arrow a bunch of times. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna shift over all the notes in this pattern, because now when we go back into the Euclidean sequencer, it's going to have the same rhythmic shape as the other pattern, but the notes are now going to be different notes because it's only going to pull from the first note to the last note, basically. And if you don't have enough notes to match all 32 that are sitting there, it's only going to grab those first ones. I hope that makes sense. Again, that's kind of surprisingly good. Back at our first pattern now. So those two, they sit really well together. Clutch Haskins, thank you for being here, homie. Giza IDM, my bro, thank you for hanging out, man. Happy Easter, dude. By the way, Giza IDM just dropped a really good video last week, or did a stream last week to kind of follow up a video outlining his way of creating songs kind of outside of song mode. And I highly recommend it because I found it pretty inspiring. So we have our alternative, pattern here. Let's go ahead and copy it. Let's move it over to pattern 3 and paste it, save it. And you know what? We're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna turn off the Euclidean sequencer and we're gonna shuffle the notes around. Oops, having a little too much fun. Oop, oh my God, whoops. Don't close your eyes when you're making music, y'all, it's dangerous. Okay, so now I have no idea what these notes are. We're going to turn on the Euclidean sequencer, but let's also play with our pulses. Let's not be afraid to get messy, get our hands dirty. All right, and okay, what is this going to sound like? I'm actually really surprised by how well this is coming together. Let's take it back to our other pattern, pattern 2. Okay. Those are a little too similar. Pattern 1. Now pattern 3. I kind of like that. Troy Wizard, I want to shout you out, dog, because you suggested making this video, and I really appreciate the suggestions. They help me, you know, just because it's kind of hard for me to imagine, like, man, what do I talk about? Because I could talk about anything, and especially me, like, I could talk about anything, but like, what would people want to hear about? So thank you, Troy Wizard, for giving this this suggestion today. Thank you to Cat is Fact for hanging out, and Giza IDM, my homie, thanks for being here. Okay, so pattern 3 is not bad. Let's go back to pattern 1. Pattern 3. Pattern 2. Okay. Now we have to decide, you know, what patterns we like. And I'm gonna be honest, most of these are rating fairly decently well for me. You know, a lot of times it's like, could we go that way or could we go that way? I don't know, they're both cool. So instead of fretting, let's keep going. We don't have to marry any particular bass line right now. So we're gonna do function, copy over to pattern 4, paste, save it. Now we're going to turn off Euclidean sequencer. We're going to adjust it some more. Oh, thank you, Clutch Haskins. Thank you, homie. I appreciate you. It means a lot. Now we're going to turn back on Euclidean sequencing, and we're going to throw some numbers at it again. But this time we need to mess with our rotation, because if you don't touch rotation, your bass line is always going to start on the 1. As you can hear, that's kind of making these sound very similar. So let's play around with the rotation a bit. And we can even jump to a different Boolean logic operator. Let's do XOR. XOR just means that if 2 pulses overlap, it's going to withhold and not play. Check out my Euclidean video that I made called How I Actually Use Euclidean Mode on Digitone to something like that. It's on my channel. If you're not familiar with this, I think it's really fun and worth checking out, just for the sake of learning this thing, because I love this. Okay. Okay. Let's throw some less trigs at it. All right, whatever. That's not the best. Let's play with some more. Let's keep going. So the reason I turned off the drums just now is because sometimes it's better to hear the Euclidean sequencer outside the context of like a bar, because I find that I will hear where the pattern begins on the cycle somewhere that is not on the 1. And if that happens, then I won't be able to hear that if the beat is playing over it. If that happens, then I can print it to the sequencer, drag it back to where I want. Mr. Eagle asks, does Euclidean mode retain note lengths? I believe it does. I use it so often for bass lines that is a very good question. All right, so let's make so note length. Let's make that a long. Let's see what happens. The very first one. Oh, you know what? Let's see. Oh, what am I doing? What's going on? All right, that should be good. Yeah, so it will respond to note lengths. I kind of like that actually. But that's not what I want to do with this particular bass line right now. Let's put it back where it was. Are you oh, because I put it on the other page. That's my bad. Here we go. Man, it's way more interesting. I like these other notes better. That sounds kind of cool. Let's go back to 1. Okay, this is a good example, a good chance to show y'all another important element, which is, so okay, we're gonna go function save. We're gonna print these notes to the sequencer, do function, turn Euclidean sequencer off. And now they all turn red. They are frozen in place because what I want to use is only the second page, not the first page. So we are going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we are going to just shorten this to 16 steps. Okay. Okay, that's something. Cool, I like it. I want to say I kind of like pattern 4 the most so far. Let's go ahead and keep going. Pattern 3. We're going to copy pattern 3 over to pattern 5. Paste, save it. Okay. And you know what? Let's not even play around. Let's go ahead and punch in some new notes. And let's drop down an octave. Just grab some of these lower notes. Sure. Okay. Now let's turn our Euclidean sequencer on. Well, that would have been cooler. Let's play around with this a little bit. Mess with our rotation. You know what? I want to shorten this to 16 steps. Don't like that note. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, I like this. Okay, we're gonna do function off. So it's gonna print it. And now I want to move everything back one note and then hear how that sounds with our beat. Banana, banana, banana. Okay, that's something. Let's compare it back to pattern 4. Cool, that's 2 distinct bass lines we have right there. Cool, I like that. Giza mentioned something that would be cool to do, which is to randomize the length of the amp release through LFO. And also, important thing, and thank you for reminding me, Giza, is that whenever you have a bass line, or at least I like to probably turn off the polyphony by just making it so it's only one voice for this bass line so it doesn't play over it. It would be exciting to maybe later on play with some polyphonic Euclidean stuff later with like a lead part or something. But now I like that idea, Giza. Let's go ahead and do it. Oh, okay. Well, this bass currently has stuff in use, so let's replace this pitch. I doubt it's doing much. We're going to go down to amp decay time or release time. We're going to do random source, fast as we can go, sample and hold, and just, yeah, it's a little bit dialed in. Let's... You know what? Okay. Instead of the random, I'm gonna do this one. Because if you do this ramp up, it makes sure that, so right now we're messing with our release, right? It makes sure that the release never goes lower than what we have set. Because this is only, you know, poking out one side. It's unipolar. If we do the random source wave, it can also make it shorter than what we want. I mean, that's not so bad either, but just something to keep in mind for the future. If you want to use sample and hold, but you don't want it to dip below, you know, what you have it set at because you like where it is, you can just move it over one to the ramp shape. Oh, but of course you also have to have it going really fast. No, but actually I like random better. Let's go back there. All right. I'm gonna give myself one more go at making a sick bass line. I can go ahead and copy paste. Let's open up, let's turn off our Euclidean sequencing. Move this stuff around, turn it back on, play with this. In fact, let's just do a randomize of the Euclidean sequencer. Hold down function, hold down that sequence button, and then hit yes. I like that, that's cool. Not bad, all right. Okay, so now we have an array of patterns to choose from, each with its own unique baseline. I gotta be honest, I think I like this one because it's so simple, so groovy. Okay, I think I like pattern 4 and pattern 5. I like that there's kind of a back and forth between those. Cool. I like 4, 5, and 2 the best. All right, keeping it moving now. So I want to say 4 is a good place to kind of start from. Do function copy, jump over here to a new bank, and we are going to paste. So that's going to be like pattern A. We're going to go in and now name it pattern A. And if you want to delete a bunch of these texts, just do function no, and it gets it out of the way real fast. Mellow Kit just entered the chat. What's up, Mellow Kit? Thank you for being here, dog. Save it. All right, go back to our other. We're going to do now pattern 2. Oops. Copy that pattern. Go back to our bank over here. Do paste. Let me make sure I didn't. Okay. Now we are going to name this. Actually, I think I want that to be pattern C. So we're going to do function, copy. We're going to put it over at 3 because C is the 3rd letter in the alphabet. Pattern 3, and now we're going to name that C. Oops. All right. And now go back to this one. We're going to pick 5. We're going to do function copy. And we're going to put that one right here. Paste, and that's going to be part B. So function B. And so now we have A, B, A, B, and C. And the reason I labeled these is because now we can go into song mode. So we do function song. It's going to ask us which song. We're doing this one. And we are going to, let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we are in the G bank. We're going to do function down. And over here on pattern, we're going to put it at G1. If we hold down function, it will jump through the letters. And we won't have to go through every single one. And we're going to do G1. And that's A. Now watch what happens if I go over here to label. I can pick pattern name, and it's now going to label it for me. So if I go down below it and now I want to do G2, which is our pattern B, it is now labeled. That is so helpful. I'm gonna be honest, I did not use that function, and I would be, going crazy, grabbing patterns from different banks. It's the kind of thing where a little organization actually goes a long way. Mellow Kit, it's glad to have you, dog. Also, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Eagle and Giza IDM coming in with those hot facts, helping out Caddis Fact to understand the value and lore of SLU. I was about to say slope. That is not the right word. Okay. So what I like to do in this situation is now I have my A, B, and C part. We're going to lay out that runway. We're going to give ourselves kind of a structure to work upon. And so to make it easy for myself to kind of visualize where things go, I'm going to leave it at 32 steps. It's going to cycle through once, even though I know that when it comes to actually being time for this to exist as a song, it's going to be longer than 32 steps. So starting at A, let's say we do A, so many times. That will be determined later. We can determine that right here. So we do A, B. I want this to maybe go back and forth between A and B a couple times. And then I want it to break through and go to C. And that would be a sufficient pattern most likely. But let's see how it feels. Let's like play them back and forth. Interesting. Okay. Hearing them side by side like that is so super helpful because now I think I have a feel for actually maybe C should be the anchor. And now let's try to like build things off of that. So let's imagine C plays for a while and then we go to B. What would it be like to go back to C and then back to B and then to A? Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, I think immediately I do not like C into B. So let's go ahead and change that to, I didn't have to delete that, but let's do C to A, and then go to B. What would that sound like? Interesting. Okay. Okay, let's try this. Let's do B. Let's imagine B plays for a while, then it goes to C, then it goes back to A. Let's hear it a little bit longer, see if that kind of changes the equation for us. You know, maybe I'm just trying to fit too many things together. Mr. Eagle was pointing out that his kind of approach is to just start with two patterns and then get a feel for things from there. And I think that might be a good way for us to do this. Like, let's start with just two. And then let's treat the third as a bridge. So bad guess. B into A feels really good to me. So I think that's the answer right there. B to A. Oops, all right, let's see. And then again, how does A feel going back into B? Okay, I dig it, I dig it. All right. So as y'all can see, a lot of this is just kind of like feeling it out. When I'm on a DAW, I can just jump to the specific parts I want to hear. I can jump to the transition I want to hear. With this thing, it really forces you to kind of have to slow down and just feel your way through it and kind of just see, like, where does my instinct tell me to go? It's a little bit, I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit challenging to do this on the stream because I'm like, I want to go, go, go. I need to make sure everybody's time is being not wasted. But I think this actually, is valuable, a valuable practice to do. So let's go ahead. We are going to set ourselves up for success by following this runway, which is B to A into C. And then let's just leave it at that for now. Now, we are going to go ahead and turn off song mode by just jumping to B, save it. This is going to be kind of now our pilot beat. We are going to save this as a kit, and we're going to progressively save it as a kit the more changes we make, and then we are going to apply that kit to our other patterns. And those patterns can become different. We can change it up, percussion wise, we can bring in different melodies and things like that. And then we can start to play with maybe fills, ways to transition into other things like that. All right, let's build this out. Mess with that later. Put some reverb on it. Go ahead and do it quantized. And let's make it actually 64 steps so I can really play around, find something that feels good. Cool, I dig it. Yeah, I agree, Mellow Kit, because I find myself wanting to do that a lot. Like, it would help so much with organization if we could swap a pattern. Like, I can take you can copy and paste over a pattern, but if I want to keep the pattern that I'm pasting into, then a swap would be so much better. Actually, I was just thinking about that the other day. Like, is that possible? Because it just seems like it would be. All right, we haven't even touched our lead yet. All right, let's make our beat a little bit more interesting. Let's also make this kick a little bit beefier. Let's increase our hold time, see how that sounds. Perfect. All I did was raise it up a little bit. Actually, let's pull it back. Try a little more decay. Compare it to the old one. Okay. Yeah, I think I like extra hold time instead of extra decay. Well, maybe one less hold, one more decay. A little more distortion. All right, save it. And now let's play with this hi-hat pattern. It's kind of boring. It's not boring, but I think we can make it a little more interesting. Let's change the notes of some of these. This is what it is right now. I like that. That's a subtle difference, but that's color there, you know, like that's just something that pasting it throughout, something that can just make it sound a little bit more alive. Copying that page over. Well, let's go ahead and add some other ones. I like that right there. Copy, 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 copy. Now this one, interesting. Let's mess with our release time. I like that better. But yeah, Caddis facts. Nobody knows when the next Digitone 2 update is coming, but we all want it. Feel it in my bones, feel it in my heart. Because, man, if they just, at the very least, added some new machines, like 1 or 2, that would be crazy. I mean, I made a whole video about it. Obviously, I'm a dork, thinks about it way too much. Let's just take out some random notes from this. What do y'all think? How do y'all feel about this one? Is it too busy? gonna put a little bit of attack on this hi-hat. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn on some retrig for some of these. But only for some of them. So we're gonna turn this off. Pick some of them. Troy Wizard says, I think you need to turn that bass line into acid. Not a bad idea. Cool. Mr. Eagle says, not too crowded, sitting nicely. Clutch Haskins says it sounds cool. Thanks, y'all. Why did I sound like that? Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you. And you know what? I'm not really digging this retrig idea. That was kind of a mistake, I think. Turn off. Turn that off. Oops. You know, like maybe it doesn't make much sense to be like blasé about where we put in the retrigs. Mellow Kid says, I wonder if changing some of the track speed could add more precision in the sequencing. Let's try it. Let's go faster. That's fun right there. Let's go way too fast, see what happens. Now it really sounds like some slowed out old school IDM. I don't know, y'all. I kind of like it. What do y'all think? What tempo is speaking to you? '89 is kind of nice. This is where it was, 114. What's up, Quace? Welcome, dude. Okay, I have to admit, I think I like it slower. But Mellow Kid says they meant just one instrument. Okay, that's interesting. Also, I can't forget there was a very good suggestion to make it acid, which by Troy Wizard, which was also something I think I would like to consider. Let's save it, copy over here, paste it, save it over here. Let's slow down the speed of our bass. Quace just said they locked their keys in their car. Everybody send some good energy to Quace. Thank you for joining this live stream. I have definitely locked my keys in my car before, and it's awful. One time I was on a road trip and I locked my key. Okay, no, actually I didn't lock my keys. I think somebody stole them, but somehow I lost them and I had to wait. All I wanted to do was drive home. I had to wait for a locksmith, charged me so much money just to get in the car. It sucks. So I feel you, man. I hope you can get some resolution. But thank you for joining us either way. Serendipitous. Mellow Kit says, sounds like that Mike and Rich album. I feel that. Gives it a little more room to breathe. I agree, Mr. Eagle. Mr. Aegis. For some, I'm having a hard time reading. Not Mr. Eagle, Mr. Aegis. This is cool. Let me silence our two leads. I think we could afford to have this be a little longer. Turning on the arpeggiator. I guess this is a setting I had turned on before with the arpeggiator. Okay, just for fun, let's also turn on the retrig because I don't know if you know this, but you can have on the arpeggiator and the retrig at the same time. Kind of gives it a different texture and vibe. Reality Disorder says, this song gives me Game Boy vibes. I feel that. Thank you for being here, Reality Disorder. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you. Mellow Kid asks, do you plan to get a dig attack in the future to add some samples flavor? I have a dig attack 1, and that's actually something I really want to do, is maybe just sit down and like have a little session, like jumping back between them and like doing stuff like sampling the Digitone 2 and then like building out of that, like, you know, adding some of that special polyphonic flavor from Digitone 2, sampling that, playing around with it. If folks are interested, that's something I would like to bring back. I don't know why I said that, but okay, we got to compare this back to what it was before, see what we think. I like it. Let's save it. Something I would like to try now. This is our lead. This is very percussion heavy. What if we drop this to half speed and we put our bass back at normal speed? I like that. That's cool. All right, let's keep it moving. So now we need to save this as a kit. We're going to save it as Easter Jam, Easter Grooves, Easter Money. Okay, now this would be a great spot to where if we could do pattern swap, we could just go in and, you know, swap these two patterns like we can with the track swap, but it doesn't work like that. So we're going to do pattern, because I want to save this, copy it. We're going to move it down here so it sits below as an alternative, paste it, save it, pattern 13, copy it. Now that's going to go become our official pattern B. And then this one, I'm going to rename it B2. Okay. B2 vitamin. All right. Now we halved. Okay, yeah. Okay, I like this. Now let's go back into the alternate patterns and let's go ahead and load this kit, which is Easter Money. So now all those changes we did with like the kick drum, making it fatter, anything we did with the LFOs, that's going to keep all this in order. And so let's go ahead and check out our song edit. Song edit has us starting with B and then moving to A. So let's do that. Let's jump to A and let's see what feels good with this. Oh, of course, we got to change our tempo. 104. Let's go ahead and do project tempo. Don't remember. It's been a while since I actually set that up. Yeah, per pattern tempo, per project tempo. And we're going to put it on 104. So now all our patterns are going to be locked to the same tempo. You just go to the metronome page, hold down function. It's going to open up and let you mess with that. So now we jump to this pattern. It's going to be in that same tempo. Cool. And that slower tempo also gives this bass line a different feel. Okay, so immediately there I found a problem. This is a good chance to see what's happening. So save it. Our lead here, pattern 2. This is our lead, right? What's going on? It doesn't come in on this first bar, which means we need to move all this back. But as you can see, yeah, everything needs to be moved back about 32 bars, but this one is actually happening early instead of right on the beat, and that's fine. We're going to leave that there. We're going to set this as trig conditionally to 1 first with the line above it, and that means this will not play the first time that we jump to this pattern. Let's go ahead and copy this, jump over to the next page. Now we're going to paste it where this pattern will begin, and we're going to use micro time. All right, looks like we're good to go. Micro time right there. And we're going to set this one to be first without the line above it. And that's to make sure that this note will only play when the pattern starts. Now we're going to scoot back everything 32 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we have a note ready to go. So now when we jump from this pattern to that pattern, it will have the lead enter. Let's go ahead and silence that, because I think what's really going to color this section is the lead. We're going back to this pattern to see like what would go well in contrast with it. let's try something. Oops, it's not long enough. I always have this problem where I forget to do that. Okay. Whoops, letting me do that. All right. I want to lower this down to C4. Okay. Save it. Let's jump between these two patterns, see what happens. Now, this is 128 steps on this pattern going into this pattern, so that would not be the most accurate way to jump between them. Let's go ahead and save it, and let's let it play out for a little bit, and then jump to pattern A. It's a little similar. Okay, now going back to pattern A. That's okay. I don't want to hit the same note from the other one, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that is the right move. So this one, let's not do it. Well, that's kind of interesting. So Reality Disorder said some chorus in the melody. Do you mean this long flowy lead, or like the sorry, that's not it. That sound right there. What do you think would sound good with the melody? I'm sorry, with the chorus. Because I could hear it on both sounds, to be honest. Let's hear what it sounds like with this one. I think I'm gonna try this lead again. The chats that I receive on the through my program are always a little bit delayed, so it's hard for me to, when someone says, you know, oh, this right here, it's a little hard for me to know exactly when, like when folks are talking about. I wonder if it's a little faster if I look at it through the browser, but I'm assuming you mean this one. Oh, so track 7 actually already has some on it. Actually, I really like that. But what would it sound like with more? That's kind of cool. Okay, I like that. All right, now what's it sound like if we go back to our other one? Okay, those are like two full-bodied parts right there. Okay, go back to A. So I want to lower this down one octave. There's a couple ways we can do that. We can do it from setup, or we could hold down this note, hit the track button, and go to our trig parameter page. Anytime you're holding down a note and you hit track while you change it, it's going to change it for all the trigs on here. Probably the most useful thing to know that I didn't know when I initially got this device, and then I had a bunch of people in the comments telling me like, bro, you can just do that instead of like punching every single button, driving yourself crazy. So thank you for everyone that helps me know about this incredibly super helpful tool. I agree, Giza. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Also, Giza made a really good point earlier about when we're doing voice allocation. There's multiple ways to do it. So, but like in that bass part, when I wanted to change it to one voice right here, you can also go into setup and change it to play mode mono or mono legato. And that way it saves a voice. I'm just so used to jumping to the voice allocation to do it. And I just remembered that I wanted to add that point in. Yeah, I feel you, Mr. Aegis. There's so many little like little moves like that. If you're not like actively doing it all the time, you're gonna forget it. Like I used to use the neutron all the time, and I could probably not tell you what the shortcut button combos are. That stuff is like, it's never super intuitive, but for the Electron machines, at least I think it is not too bad to remember, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's like the most helpful one. Okay, we're gonna save this whole project. Giza, I will gladly jump in. We could use this. I like this sound right here. I want to bring this sound to a jam. Oops, wrong one. I love that. Okay, we're gonna save it. Okay, so that's our A and our B section. According to our song edit, we are starting with B, and then we're moving to A. So we've successfully shown that we can move back and forth between those two parts. Both of them are distinct. Then we also have a third section, which is our C. Now, I want to try to do this. I'm not saying I will succeed at this, but something that I realized one day, like the kind of way to measure a song and a structure, and like, is this a success or not? My mouth is kind of dry. So I realized there's like three things that every good song will do. And that is, one, it will set an expectation. Then it will fulfill that expectation. And then here's the actually hard part, it will transcend that expectation. And I think structurally, we can think of it as like setting the expectation as like the intro. It's like the establishing shot. Maybe the intro is like bringing the right mood, like an old school lo-fi hip hop track has like the crackle of a vinyl or something. Or it could be the complete absence of an intro. It could be just like a metal song where the whole band comes in at once, because that will also set an expectation. A band hitting you all at once lets you know, like, you're going to have to keep up, that type of thing. A really slow, gradual build tells you, like, okay, you're probably in for a journey, like a epic 8 or 9 minute, house song where it starts with just the kick and the hi-hat or something like that. That would be setting the expectation, then delivering the expectation. I think that's, fairly obvious. It just means, when you hear a rock song, does it rock out when you hear a house song, does it make you want to dance? That's fulfilling the expectation, and that can take on many, many forms. But then transcending the expectation is truly like where that's the real challenge. And because there's no right answer to do this, in probably like modern structuring of songs and like established ways of doing it, that would be a bridge, right? Or an extended guitar solo and then going back into the chorus, something to kind of take it to the next level. Probably the easiest example I could think of is like Blink 182. Every time, one of their big hit songs, they'll go to a little breakdown, and Travis Barker will get to really get colorful with his drums, start playing around the kit, and he gets to do more than be just a punk drummer in those moments. And, he's very like literally transcending his role as the punk drummer, try to build that whole section back in, and it's just an excuse for them to go back into the chorus one final time. But that's just a perfect example of transcending expectations. And that is, because it'd be very easy to think of transcending expectations as like the beat gets crazier, the bass gets even nastier. But actually, Blink 182 songs, they're dropping in energy, they're bringing things down. And that is kind of, they're showing you that like, yeah, this has been a fun, loud, fast rock punk type song, but there's also this is something a little more than that. There's some emotion behind this, and they're like a very like obvious example, I think, but they were my favorite band for a certain time when I was younger, so I think I make my case pretty well. But all that to say, if we're going to try to jump to our C section now, we have to transcend these expectations. It has to be like, at the end of Terminator, you think the Terminator's dead. No, he's crawling across trying to get Sarah Connor, and Sarah Connor has to crush him in that machine. James Cameron makes you work for it as an audience, and that's got to be what a transcending expectational moment is. Okay, I'm sorry. I enjoy talking about that way too much, especially movies and stuff like that. So let's go back to our pattern C. Let's see how it feels. So that's very transcendent sounding, right? Thank you, Giza. I'm glad you feel that idea. Let's pick it up with the beat now. Let's do something a little more interesting. Let's expand to 32 steps for the kick drum. Let's look at our bass line. Let's see like what notes are open. I hear something right there. Okay. $14 is what's open. 14, 2, 5, 3, 5. Okay. Okay, that's something. play around with our hi-hat a little bit. Let's get buck wild. Let's just throw some stuff at it. All right, that's switching it up. Mr. Aegis says, been meaning to play around with switching up time signatures, but I end up getting wedded to an idea. I feel that. Just for fun, let's mess with our time signature on this one. So let's go to our reset page and let's audition like. This is what it sounds like as a 2. That's not odd, but. Let's put it at 14. Let's put it at 22. 24. Okay, that's kind of interesting, honestly. What do you guys think? Do y'all like 24 or 32? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would be cool. We'll get into that later. Yeah, for a break. I like that idea. 24. Giza says 24 is good. Yeah. I like that. I like that. So, I keep getting a little bit ahead of myself, so I apologize. What does that symbol mean, Mr. Aegis? What is that? What the heck? Silly goose. I like that. That's groovy. Okay. There's a symbol in front of the 24. Oh. Something weird with that, because when I hold my mouse over it, the symbol disappears, so some YouTube shenanigans, maybe. Yeah, Voodoo Emoji Magic. That'll be the name of this song. Good idea. Let's go ahead and save this song. We're not done with it yet, but got to make sure to save our song to the project. Save it to the project. We're going to call it Voodoo Emoji Magic. Okay, Voodoo. E. Mo. G. Magic. All right. Okay, so just, make sure you save your song to the project. It's going to be a little different. Ghost in the Shell. Yes, there are some monsters in this Digitone too. Let's see how this sounds with the other parts. Thank you, Giza. I feel good about this. Not how long this part is, though. How long is the 9.50? All right. I can't make this stream last forever, but we do need to add some transitions. We do need to do something funky and cool to get between these things. So let's go back to our song edit. Select song to edit. This one. Okay. So starting with B, let's just go ahead and just double everything. This will play 256 times. Then it'll play. No. That's 128. So let's do 256, 128. No, I'll make that 256. And back to, so we're going to jump between our B part, our A part, our B part, our A part, and then finally to our C part. And that's going to be, let's say, 8 times. That's fine. Let's save it. But now I want to make it so that when we jump to when we go from our B part to our A part, let's do a little bit of percussion magic. Now, we could do something like copy this over to, let's say, pattern 4, and then make some changes and do stuff like that. But with conditional trigs, we can make it a lot easier on ourselves. Let's go into our pattern B, and we're going to just find a new track. Let's load on a tom to it. Maybe let's try and make one real quick. Toms are very tricky. Maybe not super tricky, but they always require less time and less bass than I think they need. Because, on its own, this sounds awesome to me. Nice and, chonky, beefy, low body. And, oh, I don't hear it. It's not, we need to have a longer decay, right? But the longer the decay and the lower we go, the more likely it is to interfere with our bass and our kick. And it's the kind of thing that we could just find it and put it in the right spot, make sure it fits well. But oftentimes I'll just find you know what? This doesn't need to be that low. And it doesn't need to be that long either. So if you're having trouble with toms, consider making it shorter. Put some sample in. Let's put some body into it. That's a bit much. All right, so that's a. Let's turn down the sample rate reduction. Oh, you know what? One last thing. I want to add some noise to it. Just a little bit. Very subtle. Just it adds a little bit of color. Save it. And let's put a little reverb on it. Just a touch. Oh, hell yeah. Greetings from Germany, dude. Thanks for being here. Moritz2569, homie. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you watching the vids, man. And we could put some chorus on it. Chorus on toms can be really nice. But, you know, this is probably not the best way to do this, like completely in isolation, making this sound, because we know, as I just said, it has to fit in with the other sounds, so. Oops. That's not our tempo. Oh, you know what? So earlier when I changed the project tempo, we had already laid in our patterns here, and the song edit will override what we have set. So I believe it's set to 104. So we got to go in and do this. It's better, I guess, to know your tempo beforehand, but it's not the end of the world if you have to do this. So. Okay, but we're getting out of song mode anyway. Save it. Okay, what I want to do is let's find our main culprits, our kick and our snare. And what I want to have happen is these guys, we're going to conditionally set them to not play last. So if I have it to last with the line over it, that means this is going to not play if we are set to go to another pattern. If we have it without the line above it, it means this is going to play. So that's how we're going to insert a nice fill into our song here. And I'm even going to I want to take out these three final bass lines for our final one. And that might not be the best move. We might adjust that. And then I'm also going to silence our hi-hats so we can really just clear the space. My mouth is so dry. All right, we're going to set that to not play last, not play last. And maybe even our melody. Yeah, let's make these not play last either. And if we don't like this, I'm just gonna, function, reload it. Are there any final notes that would hit? Nope. Okay. So now we go into our tom. I'm gonna record. Okay. Since this phrase is starting and is happening across 16 steps, what I want to do is go into and actually make more of these steps disappear by making them not play last. And it's a very laborious process, y'all. And make that not play last. And hi-hats. Oops. Oh yeah, okay. The hi-hats, we're gonna make these. Let's see if I can do it. That's not gonna play last, and these are not gonna play last. So now, when those toms come in, and by the way, I have to now make these fit into by holding down the tray, hitting track. It's going to edit all of them together. We're going to put those to do be played last. All right. So I'm going to go to song edit mode. And let's shorten this for the sake of making it not take as long to hear what we're trying to do. So we'll put it at 64 steps, and then we'll see how it sounds, and it goes back into A. Did I mess up? Why did it play twice? Mellow Kid says, boring process, but so good results. You know, a lot of times that's where the boring stuff will like take something and take it to where you want it to go. I feel like a lot of times I'm like having to just edit little velocity notes and get in so deep, and I'm just like, this isn't fun. This is work, but it doesn't all have to be like instantly fun. And I feel really, really good. Like the way that someone might, build a chair in their workshop. Would you describe, like sawing the labor of creating a chair as fun? Personally, no, I wouldn't, but it feels rewarding. I don't know, just some food for thought. Mr. Aegis said it perfectly than I could. The devil's in the details. And Desalias Rivi, thanks for being here, dog, says that they don't find the Digitone too boring. You know, we wouldn't all be here if we found it boring. Okay. Back to our little issue here. We need to make this 64 steps long. And it copied every page, so now we're going to clear every page except the last one. Oh, I don't care. Let's just record it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Talking about song mode, not Digitone 2 in general. Let's turn these toms down a little bit. For fun, let's put a random modulation on our pan. So we're gonna do, and then now let's do a square wave. Let's do ultra fast, and we're gonna do sample and hold. Oops, didn't go through. So by having it randomly sample and hold draw from a very fast square wave, and our panning is set dead center, it's gonna either put it on the left or the right side each time we do it. And the distance between the left and the right of where they land will increase with the depth amount that we use. So if we go like all the way, it's going to jump all the way to the left and right side. I like that. Chorus, let's put a little more distortion on it. We could do a little more decay, I think. And you know what? These notes could be a little lower too. So let's hold down the note, hit track, and we're going to just drop them a couple notes. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. Giza says it's definitely awesome once you get in the flow. You don't even think about it because you're engrossed in the process. Desalius Rivi says, I love song mode. Really easy to make full tracks with it. Agreed. Mr. Aegis said, pulled my hair out the first time I used it. I save on hair products now. I think that's like a perfect way to describe how it can feel. You know, it's almost like sometimes like especially having to figure it out for the first time, requires work, and it feels like, you know, you're yeah, like it's like a bureaucracy or something. You're trying to find your way, like, all I want to do is send this letter to this department, but then I don't know, bureaucracy. Y'all can get the metaphor. I don't need to go down that road. But let's go back and see how does this feed into track A. Let's find out. Oh, weird. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Our bass is not... What's going on? Weird. Hold on. Okay, I screwed up. This should be not last. Those are not last. This should be not last. Okay, I messed up my song. Make sure it's last with the line above it. Otherwise, it's just going to ignore it until it's time to change. No wonder it was sounding so off. And then now we need to set these to play only last. Okay, now let's hear how that sounds. So notice how the toms are not playing. Oops, I messed up. The change is set to 32, so I hit it a little too early. All right, so pattern 2. Oh, I did it again, sorry. So now we have ourselves a transition, and I now know that since I've heard the transition in action, that we can turn up our toms because it's not competing with other stuff as much. And so this snare is actually a couple tracks stacked together. I guess these two tracks stacked together. So what I want to do here is bump it up to 64 steps. So now we have 64, and this final one right here, I want this one to not play if it's going to change. We'll do that on both tracks. So the only thing that's going to be going is the toms. My bad, y'all. I did it on the wrong pattern. What is wrong with me? Not a big deal. All right. Put that last. This will not play last. Track 4, copy. This will not play last. All right. Wait a minute. This sound, okay, yeah, forgot about this guy. Okay, copy. This one is gonna be not last. Yeah. That's the thing about these conditional trigs, man, with these lines and stuff. I'll have to like stop, be like, okay, does this mean, you know, especially once you get to like the pre and the pre neighbor, not neighbor, and then trying to read what the manual says. I feel like I'm having a hemorrhage where it's like, this is false and this is true. Like, I appreciate that it has to be like, you know, communicated in some way, but that's not how my brain makes sense of it, those words. So personally, I found it kind of hard to figure out, but maybe for y'all it makes perfect sense or something. So I can't speak for anyone else. All right, let's hear how this sounds. Just kidding. It still did it. That's fine. Okay, all right. What happened? I must have done it on the wrong track again. That's my bad. This will not play last. All right, save it. Okay, let's go to our song edit. Wait a minute. What's going on? That was weird. Think maybe let's do that. See if that helps us out. Okay, well, that does work for me, but wasn't quite what I was going for. Oh yeah, so something that's really important. Patterns are all set to infinite, right? So it's just letting our different tracks play out. This track is at 16 steps, 64 over on this one. Let's see. So 64 seems to be the highest one, but I know that for pattern 2, this is, so our lead is at 128. If we're going to go into our song edits, we need to make sure that this number right here matches the amount that we want it to play. So for B, we want this to say 128, and you can hold down function while you turn it. It will move it in those intervals you like, 16, 32, 64, etc. And we're going to play this one time. And then this needs to be opened up to 64, because what was happening is it was cutting off some of the sounds from playing for as long as they should. It was essentially resetting it. Now let's hear it, put it together. Not doing what I wanted to do. I'm a little disappointed, honestly. But I think it sounds good. Because my old school method would have been to just copy the pattern. So maybe that's the move. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy this pattern over to, let's have it mirror. Actually, no, let's put it here. So it's going to mirror that one. So we know that this is now going to be our B2 alt. We're going to name it B2, which is what we had it named earlier. Oops. Yeah, whatever. B2. And now this is going to be our B. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to go ahead and turn off. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and just turn off any stuff. Yeah, there we go. Turn that off. All right. Track, turn it off, and find any hi-hats. We're holding down track and we're turning it off. That's turning it off for any other sounds that have it on because we're holding track. Track 4. And I mean, we don't really have to do it for this one because I know which one it is. That bass. track. Okay. I believe that is all the sounds that were affected. Of course, the toms. And we're just going to go ahead and leave those out. Save it. So now this is going to be our normal B pattern. Is it just me, or is there a super high frequency whine coming through whenever you're not talking or playing music? Yeah, let me know if y'all are hearing that. I was having an issue with my microphone earlier that it was giving me some signal that I was like, I don't know if that's supposed to be there. So yeah, let me know if y'all are hearing that as well, because I would like to, thing is I can't hear what y'all are hearing. All right. So song edit, boom. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we got two Bs. This is, now we have B2, that's our alternative. So actually, that's not where I want that. First, I want B to play normal. Then I want it to go into normal A. And then when it goes to B the second time, let's set this up to match the other one. I want this to play normal once, and then do our alternative, which is on G10. In fact, let's try this. Let's do 64, and then let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 192. So this will be 256 total spread between our B1 and the B alt. See what the folks are saying. It's intermittent, sounds like one of those ultrasonic insect repellents. Mellowkit says no noise for them. I'm really sorry, Desalius. There's nothing I can do about that right now. I think if it's the problem, I think it is. So I'm sorry, I apologize in the meantime. But I do have a noise gate on, so if there's no sound, it should drop out. There should be nothing. Giza says there's a slight static sound. Cool, yeah, I'll watch it back in post. Yeah, again, sorry y'all. So let's hear what it sounds like if we go through B, then B2, and then go to our beautiful A pattern. Let's jam it. Okay. Okay, now we're going to our, oops, it's way too many times. All right, it should be good now. Oops. All right, we had a little issue. This was not set to 64, so it was only playing that first chord. In fact, it's a 128 step pattern. And let's move that down to 1. Let's move that down to 1. Let's do it again. Jumping from the A part to the C part. My butt. Okay, there we go. And of course, with song mode, we get to see how much is left before it turns around. Song edit. And we can also decide at the end, do we want to go back to the beginning by looping it, or just set it to a nice end? Set it to stop. Hell yeah, I'm glad you like that tom fill. Want to put a pulse stay crash symbol after the toms. I feel that. That's a good idea. I'm not sure what pulse stay means, or if I'm missing some context, or if all right. That's a very, I think, strong structure there. We can go ahead and refine it a little bit more, I think. And MellowKit was saying that we should add a crash after the toms. I 1000% agree. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a crash. Jump over to some random track. This is a wave tone right here, so turn this up. So wave tone, turn down our oscillators and jump over to the noise section. We can have it be a grainier noise. I like this because, you know, we get a little more control of the character of the sound. We can do different types. We can do tuned noise. Zildjian. Ah, okay. I didn't realize there's a brand you were talking about for cymbals. Yeah, Zildjian. And of course we get our, like, my favorite thing in the world is to just do a backwards envelope. So let's go to, let's see, noise. Where is it? Filter bass. And we're going to, so that's a high pass filter. and we're going to jump backwards and then come back. We'll use this exponential shape. We're going to turn it to the negative, and we're going to put it on trig mode, so it's only going to play one time. The further we go to the left, the more it's going to let in more frequencies before it cuts them away. But why I really like this for any type of cymbal or any, especially adding noise to a snare, because it's how frequencies actually do spread out around a room. The higher the frequency, the longer it lingers because it's just bouncing around. We're more sensitive to those frequencies, so we hear them as hanging around longer because the lower the frequency, the more decibels are required for it to like sustain. And obviously those waves are also just longer and bigger the lower you get, so they require more energy behind them. The higher the frequency, yeah. So this is like how it will actually sound in a room. We don't need reverb, and sometimes just adding noise like this over something, I've made sounds where I was like, oh, that sounds like it's in a room, but it's not. It's just noise with the high pass being triggered up. Unek, thanks for coming to the stream, my man. It's okay if you're late because we're still having fun. All right, let's make this. Also, yeah, congratulations, like Mr. A just said, congratulations on getting your DT2. It's a powerful, powerful instrument. All right, enough playing around with my cymbals. How does it sound if it plays? Not very loud. Let's turn it up. Let's go ahead and bring down the high pass. And let's lower. There we go. So it's going to be able to linger longer. More frequencies are going to be able to linger longer. It's also going to be a little less warm. Okay. Turn this bad boy up. Maybe a little less lingering. Maybe I'll have it a sharper attack time with like kind of a dip in decay, so it's like, but then it will have its chance to linger. Ooh, I like that. Thanks. Are you also rocking the DT2? Would love to see some tracks from you. I have a DT1, and you know me, like I'm all about DN2. So for the time being, like, you know, vast majority is going to be DN2, but I do want to bust out the DT1 and do some stuff with it. But like, you know, really, what I want is the DT2. So something that will definitely have to pop up at some point. Maybe someday I'll get a Tonverk too. Not sure yet. It's all very expensive, so. I'm still working my way through this guy right here. Cool. Now, anytime you have a cymbal, best thing to do so you don't have to worry about it or think about it is hold down the trig, set it to conditionally play first. So now you never have to worry about it arriving at the wrong point, or you could do what I used to do or another thing I used to do, which is like just do 1 out of 4. So if it does pop up again, it'll feel appropriate. Is that fierce enough of a cymbal? Do y'all think that crash works? Should I go harder with it? Save it, maybe longer release. Put some reverb on it. That overdrive definitely added a lot of character to it. It's really like showing through the mix a lot better now than when it was just pure noise. It was kind of blending in. Okay, so we got a crash to come in whenever we go to this part. And yeah, what? Oh, okay. We go to song edit mode. Let's see. Mellow Kid says, yeah. Unek says, I got the Tonverk last week and returned it after 1 day. It's still pretty unfinished and a lot of workflow hinges we are used. Oh, a lot of workflow things we are used to from the digiboxes are not implemented or straight up bugged. Also, the DN2, this is now Mr. Aegis saying, also the DN2 has percentage and conditional, so you can go even deeper if you're looking for longer periods. Dang, that's really disappointing to hear about the Tonverk. I watched a really good video. I wish I could shout out the person's name, but I really liked hearing their take on it. I had never seen their channel before, and it was kind of just them talking about it for about 25 minutes or something, and the issues they had with it, and the biggest one that, if anyone knows what video I'm talking about, please let me know so I can shout them out. But they were saying that there's a latency issue where the processing of the machine itself pumping out the audio has like 6 to 12 milliseconds of latency, which, you know, latency from MIDI is something that I'm very much used to, but audio out is not something I'm used to. But he was saying that so he would have his whole setup go into the Tonverk. Everything's feeding into it, into the inputs of the Tonverk and then coming out. And doing it that way, it all came out synchronized together. But I guess if he was trying to have the Tonverk go into something else and have them be lined up MIDI clock, that there was some latency. So maybe that's something that can be adjusted with micro timing. But that one thing, I was like, ooh, that gave me a little bit of pause. But I still really want to play with it. I want to find out for myself, you know, like how much do I like it, especially with the wave machine they just added. Looks really sick. And obviously the whole system with the buses is really what makes me want to play it the most. Okay, sorry, we just took a little detour talking about Tonverk. All right. Okay. I know what I don't like about that transition. It's when that lead comes in. So there are two things we could do. We could do classic, like 1 out of 2 on the conditional trig, or only don't play on 1 out of whatever. No, don't worry, dude. I like talking about that stuff. Or we can also just do it in the song edit. So this might be a good example to show y'all. If we go to song edit and you scroll over here all the way to the right, we know we're starting off with part B. Part A is I don't want that lead to come in immediately, or it should only come in if there has been no lead before it. So like maybe the move is we go to our B part and we silence the lead just for that section. Maybe then we can let's silence the lead. Then when we go into this next section, it will have a lead. This presents a problem actually, because now when we go back into it, I'm not gonna like that being there. All right, well, let's play around with it. What are the folks saying? Slichter says, I love DT2 and DN2 pair. I've got those as well. It's an almost unlimited playground. Have fun with those, Unek, and post some jams. Yeah, post some jams, man. I'm jealous of anybody who has the combo, the DN and the DN2 and the DT2, because like stereo, obviously on the DT2, being able to mangle the samples and bring in stuff like I always think of the Digitone 2 as like a challenge. Like, how can I make stuff only inside here, but that's because it's really fun and because I can use it. Challenges me to want to like know it better. But if I wanted to grab a sample from real life, like rain pattering on a window, or I want to like record the sound of me slapping some 2x4s in my garage, I can only, approximate something like that in the Digitone 2, like a substitute teacher showing up. And I might get something that's even more exciting than I thought. But there's always going to be a huge advantage to just being able to mix something like this, what we make in here, with those real life sounds, or just to be able to like sample an analog synth and be able to play that. Anyway, yeah, y'all already know what I'm talking about. Okay. Pattern 1, pattern 2. I think the move is we're going to make it so this does not play first. Okay, this should be a little bit later. This will also not play first, and that has solved that issue for me. Pattern 2. So this is how the song starts. And then we go in here. Now, the lead that you heard there is actually runoff from this pattern right here. And it sounds pretty good over it. But that was creating an issue with that other note arriving so soon. Okay, now we're going to go to our B alternate. Okay, we're gonna copy A. We're gonna put an alternate underneath it. Paste it. Save it. And now we're gonna pick up this beat a little bit, make it a little more interesting, because we have a 16-step beat here. Let's make it more fun. Let's go to our hi-hat. Oh, again, 16 steps. Let's make it 32. And then let's add a retrig. Let's put it to 124. And I think I've talked about this before, but if you have it at 124, it's good to move it over through micro timing so that it lands between the notes, because then it's like you're rolling into it with the thirds. Let me see if this is a good example, but pay attention to this note. Nope, that was not the right example. Let me try. Oh, wait. There we go. So putting it right here, because that's a third, it's interacting with the beat through thirds. Okay, so now we're like coloring up this beat a little bit, and this is our snare for fun. let's go ahead and on this final action, let's put it like right there instead. And let's take off that, put that there. Now track 5, put that there. And I believe, yeah, put that there. Oops, okay, and then this needs to not be there. So we're gonna go ahead and pump this up to 64 steps. And this will go right here. And I'm just gonna like manually program in where I want things to drop out, just a little bit easier. So this is a 16-step bass part, goes on and on and on. And then, oh, okay. I wanna take these 4 notes, copy them. I'm gonna push them all over to the side. So the snare's gonna hit right here. It's gonna hit early. Bass is gonna come a little bit late. Let's see how that sounds. And it's gonna take 64 steps, or it's gonna be on the final bar, 4-bar thing. Oh, wait. My bad. Hold on. Okay. This is a 16-step bass part, but we had a second part to it that I deleted. So let me copy over this to there and this to there. Grab these guys and put them there. Okay, now we fixed it. And thank you, Stickster. I appreciate you saying that. I want to try to, and Unek, thank you, dogs. I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate, it's a lot of fun, man. This is definitely my longest stream ever, but just takes a lot of effort to make a song. So I'm having fun as long as you guys are having fun. Yeah, let's keep going. A little funky. I think I know what we could do. It's that bass line that plays with it. All right, that's fun. And then of course we do have toms, right? We do not, because the toms were created on this pattern right here. Let's go ahead and now pattern 1, I believe one of the main differences we've created is the lead has chorus on it. Pattern 2. Track 8. Yeah, so that's the main difference there. So let me just, pump that up, and also track 7 has full chorus. I want to do that over here. Now we could be using the kit, but I did make some changes to some other tracks. I didn't quite keep track of them as far as like what all's going to carry over if we save this as a kit. So I'm just going to try to keep it easy, make sure I don't accidentally change something I don't want to change, and go ahead and do pattern 2, track 10, copy track 10, go to pattern 1, and paste. I just made a mistake. I didn't make the mistake, but I almost did. Make sure whenever you're copying with this on, because it will not necessarily copy what you want to, it will copy like the information on that track. And so like it would copy, oh yeah, this is actually on a different track, but all right, anyway, track 10, copy, track 10, paste. Okay, now we can throw in some toms. silly goose, y'all. I messed up. That's okay. Track 10. Go ahead and delete that. That's okay. All right, track 10. Copy. We're going to jump over to A alternative part, which I need to go ahead and name that as A2. Save it. And we're going to paste track 10. Now we can play around. Let's see, the snare comes early, comes at 11 on this final bar. Kick arrives at 10. The bass is at 9. So those three are kind of spoken for. I don't know if I would want to put a tom, but maybe let's put a tom right here. Let's see how that sounds. And also, let's just jump straight to these last two pages. If you're in record mode and you want to just stick to a certain page to loop, hold down the page button and highlight the one you want to loop. That way you don't have to hear through the whole pattern over and over again. All right, I like it. All right, beautiful. And we'll go ahead and turn that off. Okay, so now we have an alternative for A2. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to do today. So we're starting off with B. We're gonna play this many times, then we're gonna go to A. We're gonna play so many times, then we're gonna go to B again, then B goes to its alternative for the last 64 steps. Then we're gonna go to A, but now since we have an alternative A, we're gonna jump over to G9, which is our A2. This is gonna be 128. Play that, I think one time is appropriate. And then it'll go finally to this section, which is G3. And that will play a number of times. And then let's go ahead and imagine going to our B part, 128, one time, our A part, one time, and then maybe we should have a little drum solo. All right, let's do that. We're gonna jump to final little drum solo, just a little thing to kind of take us into our song. In fact, it doesn't even need to be much of a drum solo. Let's paste it, save it. Let's go ahead and clear. Okay, you know what? It's not going to be a drum solo at all. It's just going to be a little bit of extra time on there. So let's do pattern 8. I'm going to find a random track, right? I'm going to lay down a trig, drop it to 0. That's just so that this pattern exists as something that the Digitone 2 can recognize. So we're supposed to go into our final section, which is C, right? It's going to be our final blowout. We're going to play it for a second. Let's see. Before we get there, we're going to jump to, I believe that was pattern 7. Which pattern was it? Oh, pattern 5. Okay. We're going to jump to pattern 5. Pattern 5 is empty space. So all we're doing now is we're just adding 4 extra beats. So there's just that little bit of a drop off there at the very end before we go into, this actually needs to be G9, before we go into our final jam. So this is what it would sound like. Imagine we go through the whole song, we get to this section, and it's going to play through. It's going to jump to this. It's going to hold you in place, 4 beats, silence, and then finally go back to our big moment. Oops. I forgot. We got to fix this tempo. So these were saved at 114 as the tempo. The project is at 104, the project tempo. So when I bounce between the patterns, they're all just following the project tempo. But since they were saved at 114, when I pull them into here, it's putting them as 114. So just something to, basically the song mode will override your project tempo. Something to keep in mind. I messed up. I messed up, y'all. It was not supposed to go to that one. That's okay. Instead of, I feel like, okay, let's do 2. Let's do 2 extra. And you know what? Okay. Pattern, this is our A2, right? This is our alternate. I'm going to copy it. Put it over here. Paste it. Paste it. When we get to this final bar here, I want the bass to drop out. What does that sound like? And I want the hi-hats to drop out. Save it. We're gonna rename this as A3. Song edit. Go down. This is now, so just to lay it out here, we're doing our A, our normal A the first time we go to it. Then we're going to our A alternate. Then we're finally, when we finally come around back to A for the final time, it is going to be A3. And A3 is the same as A2, except it's going to have this kind of patch of silence at the end of it, which is then going to be followed by just a little bit more silence from an empty pattern. And just to make sure it's empty, we'll go ahead and unmute every single track. And then it's going to go into C. Oh, we got to change this to 128. All right. And we got to put it at 104. Cool. All right. I think we're almost there. The only thing I want to change is this lead at the end. This guy, I want it to only play 1 out of 2. Since I know this is going to play 128 steps, this will play where it's supposed to, but then it will not play on the final time. Mr. Aegis says, I really wish song mode had a start at pattern beat parameter, so you could say play for X number of beats starting at beat X. On the mono machine, what's really crazy about that one, and I thought it would work this way too, is like you can set like, hey, jump to the A pattern, but start it, you know, at step 56 and play for only this many steps, which allowed you to basically like grab chunks out of your own song and kind of like remix them and put them, you know, like grab just the kick from the beginning of one pattern and grab just like this sound from partway through another pattern, and you could play them like rapidly one after another, and that made it actually also really easy for fills, because like say we could make like this A3. Maybe all I want to do with that A3 is just grab the part where it goes off a little bit and the tom comes in, and I want it to play like, like have it skitter a couple times before going into the next part. And with Digitone 2, obviously can't do that. So I'm glad of course OT can do that. Maybe, I mean, I bet part of it is that they're like, look at how many numbers are on the screen. Like we can't fit all of this. Actually, I don't know. I shouldn't try to assume that I understand like why the software designers at Electron would like design things a certain way, because that's not an expertise I have. I just like making music with these things. But yeah, of course the Octatrack could do that. Man, that thing can do anything. Yeah, maybe someday, maybe that'll be like a thing in the future, like a new feature I would like to see added, because that really gets kind of crazy. All right, so let's hear what we did here, and let's see one last rodeo, just for the sake of making it shorter. We're gonna do 64 just so we don't have to listen to it, as many times as we do. It's the same size screen. Okay. Well then, let's judge extra harshly. Let's give them a hard time. Let's create an email campaign, and maybe someday they'll add it. I hope they do. Oops. All right. Let's go down here, and anytime you want to jump to a pattern, make sure you jump to this side over here where these numbers are. If you try to do it here, you'll be like, how come it's not jumping to this pattern? Because you got to be on the far left side. And now we're going to listen to your 64 steps of our third alternative of the A part with a little patch of silence. Okay, I inadvertently messed up my own example, and so we have to do the full 128 steps to hear the lead drop out at the end there. So this is one thing about the song mode that can sometimes be an advantage, but also is not, is that with a DAW, we could just jump to where we need to go and review it. And this, we got to sit through the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Save to projects. Oops, all right. Song, save to projects. Voodoo Emoji. Why are you asking me to name it again, bro? Voodoo Emoji, that's what it's called. That's weird. Voodoo Emoji. See everything. Yeah, fingers crossed for an update. I think the fact that they updated the syntax, which was long overdue, and of course they're working hard on the Tonvert. Maybe we'll get another Digitone 2, Digitac 2 update. The fact that this is called the mod page and not the LFO page. Come on, we gotta have more than LFOs there. That has to mean something, right? You wouldn't put that there just to tease us, just to hurt our feelings. So I would hope not. Let's go ahead and hear this song. Let's hear what we made. And yeah, let's hear how it sounds. And I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts, opinions, ideas. If there's something in the future that you want to like see a live stream about. Sometimes people will suggest an idea and I'll be like, I really love that idea, but then I don't know if I could do it in a live stream, but I would like to do it in another style video if I could. So I just appreciate all ideas from anybody. And also it's just really good to hang out. Everybody who's been here today, Mr. Aegis, Giza, always a pleasure. Slickster, Stickster, Neck, Mellow Kit, thank you, homie, for being here. Novice du Temps, DeSalis, Revi, BG, 9028. And let's see. From Germany, Moritz, thank you for being here, dude. And yeah, let's hear the song. Let's hear how it did. Thank you, Mr. Aegis. Oh my God. About to kill somebody. How did that even get in there? Should have let it play out. A little awkward of ending there. Sorry again about the jump into that 114. Killing me, Mr. Aegis, in my honor, or as my friend. Please make a track at 114 BPM. It would mean my heart. Giza, thank you for the compliment. Yeah, this is not what I intended to make today. I had run through a couple different examples. None of them were like select ambient work, so I'm very happy with that. And so my dogs are very mad at me right now because they need to get walked, and they always usually get walked by now. And this is a very long stream, so I will have to roll out today. But I just want to say again, thank you to everybody for hanging out with me today. This has been a lot of fun, and I feel really good about this track. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna refine it, kind of give it a little more details and stuff like that, and then probably record it, post it, put it up. I have a chat on my Patreon that's like as if there's like a Discord, but in your Patreon, and anyone can check it out if they're in the Patreon or not. But that's a place where I want to be posting little jams and stuff like that, things like that. If that's something that interests you, check out my Patreon. It's just patreon.com/slumpfish. And again, I just want to shout out everybody who hung out today. Thank you so much for being here, even if you weren't in the chat or anything. If you are just hanging out, I appreciate y'all.